Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi and welcome to MidWeek Magic, where I want you to grow your collection by winning 2 free rare or better ICRs each and every week. This week brings us historic Pauper, which we haven't seen since May, although we did have a somewhat surprise standard Pauper back in June. But still, we're talking a good 4 or 5 months here between Pauper excursions. And, well, I'm here to remind you that violence is rarely the answer, but sometimes you just gotta ping a bitch. But before we get into all of that, this whole MidWeek Magic thing has become a bit of a tradition here at the Stronghold, and it all started with our crack team of researchers discovering that we were the only YouTube channel making consistent, proactive, and timely MidWeek Magic coverage. And here we are years later, and it appears that we're still the only ones out there doing it for the budget community. So be sure to subscribe to the Planeswalker Stronghold so that we can be here for you every chance we get. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. In the 4 or 5 months since we last played Historic Pauper, a lot has happened on Arena. Like an anthology that released 4 new commons, including the absolute banger Crop Rotation. Not to mention, we had 3 separate standard legal sets release, including Final Fantasy, Edge of Eternities, and whatever they're calling that other thing. And with those in particular, we get their limited performance rating, so we know how good the card can be in a smaller environment like you might see in Pauper. And as if that wasn't enough to consider, even some of the bonus sheets for the standard legal sets, including some common cards, although really there's not a lot new here, but it may have slipped some commons into your collection that you weren't aware of. So the last 4 or 5 months have given us a lot to consider for the Pauper format, but one undeniable fact remains. While you might want a lot of different Pauper decks and enjoy that style of collecting and play, the real fact is, particularly when we only see Pauper 2 or 3 times in a given calendar year, you really only need one Pauper deck. And if you already have that deck, possibly the best thing to do is to go through those new cards, see if there are any standout straight up improvements, or possibly cards that you want to test in the deck to see if they might be better than what you're currently running. And of course that means if you don't already have a Pauper deck, the main goal of today's video is to help you get your first Pauper deck. And of course, I want to help you do that as wildcard efficiently as possible, and thus I have found 2 really good methods for doing just that. The first that you see on your screen is what I like to call the Arena cheat code. Those few common cards that allow you to put as many copies as you want in your deck. But unlike in paper, where not only can you not find enough copies of this to ever build a deck around it, the few copies that you do get are extremely expensive because of very high demand. On Arena, however, once you have crafted 4 copies of this card, you can put an infinite number of them in your deck. And this unlocks a number of budget-worthy decks, not just Pauper that we're talking about today, but things like Brawl, 60-card Constructed for Historic, Standard, Alchemy, all sorts of things. This is one of the best 4 wildcard investments you can make in Arena, and I strongly suggest doing at least one of them. My personal favorite choice right now is actually Heir Apparent, because not only is it standard legal, it will continue to be standard legal as long as Foundations remain standard legal, which currently is promised to be through 20 29. Slime Against Humanity is in its last leg of standard, but at the time of recording has a little over a year left. And of course, Rat Colony is no longer standard legal, but still a eternal powerhouse. While you can find other examples of these cheat code style any number cards, one to be particularly aware of for this event is Persistent Petitioners, because, well, early on it was so good it was actually banned in Historic Pauper, and while I'm not sure the ban still needs to be enforced, as far as I know it still is. So be hesitant in crafting this card without doing your research, and also be warned there have been times where they kind of went back and forth on this, enforcing it sometimes and not others. So craft carefully. If you are looking for specific lists using any of these cheat code cards, just hop on over to my Aetherhub page through the link in the description and select Pauper as your inquiring format, and you'll see all the decks I've ever published there. And a quick little import over to Arena, and you are done and done. Of course, the other super budget-friendly method of putting together a Pauper deck is to use cards that you already have in your standard collection. And believe it or not, we have been playing a deck like this since Final Fantasy came out. The Rakdos Pringers deck, and converting it to Pauper really obviously isn't all that hard. You just strip it down to the commons and make adjustments where you need to. In the first category, we've got disruptive spells, and I'm using 3 copies of Duress. Obviously, hand disruption is pretty darn good. Abrade pulls double duty, of course, being a source of creature damage, as well as the option to destroy an artifact. From there, we've got direct damage that is going to hit the opponent in the face, plus be a non-creature spell. 4 burst lightnings, 4 shocks. I've got 2 different arts, don't let that confuse you. 4 lightning strikes, and finally 4 Vashino Pyromancer, which gives us a little bit of board presence too when we need it, and a creature that we don't mind blocking with. And basically the last category here are the Pingers. Fear of Lost Teeth deals a damage and gains us a life, so another creature that we don't necessarily mind blocking with, because all that occurs when it dies. Black Mage's Rod is probably the signature card in this deck. Not only is it a non-creature spell in and of itself, but it creates a wizard pinger for us. Firebrand Archer loves, again, non-creature spells, dealing 1 damage to each opponent each time you cast one. Cornered by Black Mages, 3 mana sorcery, creates a pinger and forces our opponent to sacrifice a creature. Keep in mind, you can cast this in a pinch, even when your opponent doesn't have a creature, just to get the pinger on the board, although it's a little expensive to do so. And then 3 copies of the Mysidian Elder, probably saying that wrong, 3 mana 1/3, so another creature we don't mind blocking with, or blocks pretty well against smaller creatures. When this creature enters, create a 0/1 Black Wizard creature token that pings your opponent every time you cast a non-creature spell. Almost everything in this is non-creatures. Our creatures are 4 copies of Vashino Pyromancer, 4 copies of Firebrand Archer, and 3 copies of the Elder. And of course, 1 or 2 copies of Fear of Lost Teeth. So what is that, 13 creatures, lucky 13. Land base, because we're doing Pauper, I've got 4 copies of the Ping Land. You may not have these if you weren't around during Outlaws of Thunder Junction, but the Outlaws deck was a thing from that set, so I think it's a worthy craft, not only for this deck, but any Outlaws deck that you might be interested in adding to your criminal repertoire later on. And then, of course, just 18 basics, leaning a little towards mountains, because as you can see, the majority of our spells are mountains. We don't just want to go too deep, because we don't want to not be able to cast Cornered on Black Mages, or Cornered by Black Mages. on 3 if need be. So we do keep the Swamps to 8 plus the 4 Jagged Barrens that are pretty easy plays on turn 1. If we don't play a Fear of Lost Teeth or a Duress on 1, it's really not that big a deal. And of course, Shock and Burst Lightning, we probably don't want to play on 1. So anyway, that's the deck. Don't forget to check out your individual collection, because there's no particular magic to these card selections. They are just what I had and what I anticipate other people having in their collection. But of course, if you have a card that fits nicely into this concept, by all means, throw it in.
Do you want to be my bitch?
I shouldn't have hit Hardman.
Closed fist?
Open palm.
Bitch slap.
Damn straight.
How'd it feel?
Good enough that I did it again.
Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
And hey, just in case you didn't catch all that, Matt would like you to know that the deck list that we discussed in this video is going to have a link down in the doobly-doo to take you over to Aetherhub, along with a link to any other alternative lists that you might wish to consider. He only asks that you give it a little thumbs up when you're over there checking out the deck list. And I plan on live playing this event on Wednesday at 11 a.m. over on my Twitch channel, so definitely stop in and check it out. Because the Stronghold is so much more than just a YouTube channel, and you can find links to all of our other social media outlets in our profile. Because at the end of the day, we're all budget players. And as a community, we're stronger together. So like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all those things to show a little love. It's appreciated more than you know.